Hello and welcome back to A Story About My Uncle. We left off just before this series of jumps that I remember struggling with quite a lot. So let's see, the first thing we have to do is kind of time our grapple throw with these rotating rocks. And they're a little tricky to catch. And then we have to ride this up a bit and then catch the next one. And this is kind of getting into some of the more challenging parts. We're not into the really challenging part just yet. And I realized after I said that this was a really difficult part last time, that I've played this game a lot more since then, and I've actually gotten a lot more confident in my abilities. Now, what is this?
Did you ever see any of Fred's experiments yourself?
Yes, I actually helped him collect samples for his research sometimes.
To learn about them?
That's right. We found all sorts of things. One time, we went to the forest and found a small pool of water that was full of eggs.
Eggs? Were there chickens in the forest?
No, not chicken eggs. These were small and jelly-like. Hundreds of them. Fred told me that they were frog eggs. He was in for a surprise, though. Guess what happened?
What? What happened?
Well, we took some eggs back home, and one day, Fred woke up with bites all over his body. Turns out, it wasn't frog eggs after all. It was mosquito eggs.
Ah, poor Fred.
I know. He did find real frog eggs eventually. He told me that they were very, very special, but I don't know what happened to them.
Alright. A little bit of foreshadowing for us. Let's head back into some of this platforming. And I am forgetting what my controls are, so that's probably not the best way of doing things. I was hitting grapple instead of jump. So from here it looks like we're heading this way. We've got another kind of fast spinning couple of rocks, so we'll have to time things a little bit well. And let's see, that might not be enough. No. No, I didn't really place that as precisely as I needed to, because we need to land on top of something. If you land on the side of something, sometimes you can recover, but it is pretty unreliable whether or not you can, and that was the bottom. Things are going to become much easier once we get 3 grapples, as I mentioned in the last episode, but for now we have to figure things out with only 2 grapples. And I mentioned that this game kind of has a really good sense of progression where you get more powerful and then the game gets much, much harder. So I was aiming for the wrong rock, and that ended up making things more difficult than they needed to be. Now we've got more of these glowing markers. Now we have some of these that are going up and over, so they're going to take us in a bit of a different arc. And I remember really enjoying this jump because it kind of throws you overhand. So let's grab onto it and see if we can get enough speed to get close enough to that. There we go. And we've got more of Fred's markers to show us the way. We can move around a little bit recklessly if we want to.
These blue lights. Did Fred put them here? Or was somebody else here as well?
Alright, so now we're getting into signs of civilization. We're getting close to the village. And this is where we're going to see the story really starting to pick up. And we're going to meet some interesting characters, so I'm really looking forward to that. But for now, we don't have any of our movement options. We have the zoom button available to us, and that's all. So we're just walking down this path, and isn't that a gorgeous sight? That's just I really love the way this game looks. I love the contrast of the glowing patterns on the rocks and the lights. The way this game uses light is just incredible sometimes. And I love how those kind of twinkle when you turn your head. In a way that kind of almost, I can't tell if it's intentional or if it's Z-fighting. Where kind of they're so far away that the computer can't tell whether they're in front of or behind the surface that they're on.
Hello, who are you? You're not from here. Wow, you look just like Fred, but smaller, and with less hair on your face.
She knew Fred. I told her that he was my uncle, and that I was looking for him.
What's an uncle?
I said that I had known him all my life.
Really? Me too. I'll help you find him. I'm Madeline. The others call me Mad Maddie sometimes. I don't know why really, but you can call me Maddie. You've never been to the village, right? Let's meet over there in the square. I'll show you around. I bet you can get there easily with your suit thing. So, I'll see you there.
I couldn't believe it. An underground village inhabited by frog people, or more like salamanders. Either way, they walked like humans, they talked like humans. How is that possible?
Okay, so we've got to find our way to the village. So I see a checkpoint pointing off in this direction, and I see some rocks down there, but I saw something that we can actually grab onto. Well, I thought I saw something that was actually within reach over here. But now I'm not seeing it, so maybe it was just over the fence there. So it looks like we need to power leap over to this thing. There we go. And then on to that. And now we have, let's see, we can't get to that yet, so probably going to have to do another power leap. And then it looks like it's going to be kind of a swing, and then we won't be able to grapple onto the ground, so we'll have to be careful about how we land. And that sent us in the wrong direction. So we have to be careful because it's pretty difficult to change what direction you're going in once you're in the air. That's actually going to take us back a jump, which is fine. That first jump is pretty easy. Now, can we do this? Yeah, we can actually do that without jumping. So we actually only needed to swing once there, which is good to know. Good thing to figure out. Now, where are we going from here? Looks like more jumping, more beautiful lights. So those things are still flickering, so as we get closer to them, it becomes less and less likely that that is Z-fighting, even though it's very much, that's the kind of thing where they're static when you look at them, and then when you move, they flicker, as that's very common in games that have Z-fighting in them, is that every time it redraws the scene, it checks their distance from you, and tries to figure out whether or not to cull them. And it can get confused because there's a limit to how precisely the computer can calculate distances. And so it gets confused and it kind of flickers between them. It's a neat effect though. Like, I've seen a few games that use it intentionally, and it can actually it can actually look pretty good if you intend to use it instead of just having it happen accidentally. So now it is very dark, and I actually turned the brightness down because I was mentioning that I was noticing a lot of glare But now I cannot tell where we're supposed to go, so I'm going to kind of jump around here. So the arrow's pointing in this direction. I think I see one of Fred's markers over there, so that's going to be a very long jump. Let's see if we can make it. Alright, we can. And is that going to... Yes! That's going to get us over here. These lovely flowers on this archway. So we're getting very close to the village now. And in fact, it looks like we're actually getting into the village now with these buildings here.
Over here! Hey! Hi, welcome to my village. This is the town square, and that over there is Fred's tent. I haven't seen him in a few days, though. Maybe our elder Samuel knows where he is. He knows a lot of stuff. Mostly boring stuff, if you ask me, but it's worth a try. Before asking him, though, you should check out the village. It's not so bad, unless you have to stay for too long. When you're done, go to the island with the windmill, and you'll see Samuel's cove from there. I'll go on ahead and tell him that you're coming. He's not much for surprises. Later!
I thanked Madeline and agreed to meet her later. It was strange. How could I talk to someone who was not even human and still feel like it was perfectly normal?
Now we are in the village, and we're starting to get a little bit of a sense of where the story is going. We're starting to get a little bit of a sense of Maddie's character. And I just noticed over here on this corkboard, there are some drawings, and one of them has the Coffee Stain Studios logo, which is one of the two studios that worked on this game. And I don't know exactly what the relationship is between Coffee Stain and Gone North, and what each of them did with the game, but I know that both studios claim this as their own game, and they both have their logos on the splash screen. Now that is the same as the grapple hook logo, which I think is interesting. I was actually pretty disappointed the first time I played this. You can't actually talk to anybody as far as I can tell. So you can just sort of look at the village, but it's just a set piece. Which I can understand, because this is a really well-produced game, but it is small, it is limited in scope, and you can kind of tell sometimes that they wanted it to be more than they could actually make it. But I think it's good that they put all of their focus onto the scenery and onto the physics and the platforming. And so I don't really mind that they left some things out. Now here is a map of the village, and this will not actually be very helpful, because I have such a hard time finding my way around the village, and I've looked at this map and I can't really make it resolve because none of the bridges are drawn on here. So I know that we're trying to get to the windmill, and then we'll be able to see the cave, and I think we're going to the cave? Let's see. I believe we're going to need to do some more jumping. Whoops. I hit the button to zoom in because I wasn't really thinking, and I heard voices over here. I can't tell what they're saying, but maybe that will come out in editing. But we can see the people around the village. It's kind of eerie that they don't notice us. Especially since, as Maddie pointed out, we're rather unusual looking here. We are the aliens.
It looked like most of the shacks in the village were built out of trash. Trash from our world. It was, after all, a garbage disposal pad that took me here.
Alright, so the windmill is where we need to get to. So now we can see roughly where we're headed, but I don't remember the path there being totally straight. I can't tell if they're speaking English or not. This is a nice little area up here. All right. This is a bit of a jump. Okay, so here's the checkpoint, which I think means we're going to be doing more jumping. But we have a bridge down here. I wonder where this goes. It doesn't look like there's much over here, but there's this... Ah. Up there, okay. So there's something to grapple to up there, but the checkpoint arrow is pointing over this way. And there's another bridge over here, so I'm not sure what the different places we're supposed to go are. There's the windmill, that's where we're trying to go to. Almost fell in the hole there. And I can never remember, the Elder is not as close to the windmill as I ever want him to be. But it's really nice that we can explore the village like this. And it's, you know, it's one of those things where I want it to be more than it is, and that actually makes it a little bit difficult to appreciate how nice it is, but it's actually, it's really nice. It's really nicely designed. It's really charming. It's something that I really enjoy exploring. And I think because I like it so much is why I wish that it was more fleshed out. So there is the way to the windmill. And it looks like there's some platforming away from the windmill behind it. Kind of want to check out where this other path goes to, though. Because once we head toward the windmill, I believe that's going to move us onward through the story. So I want to check out this side path. Just briefly. See where it goes to. And I think we can just, yeah, we can grapple onto that just fine. But we need to be a little bit careful of how we do things once we get up there. There we go. Oh, so this takes us up to Fred's tent. To Fred from Maddie. 27 days after arrival, I named one of the little froglings Madeline after my old journey companion. I bet she would have loved this adventure. Anyway, the little frog lives up to her name, so curious and inventive, eager to learn as well. She even asked me to teach her how to write.
For how long had Fred been gone?
I'm not sure. A couple of months, I think. Less than half a year for sure. I remembered hiking with him the summer before, but when I counted the days in his journals and from when I last saw him, it didn't make sense. Maddie said that she had known him all her life. Maybe she meant it figuratively. Like she didn't really mean it. Like when you say you'll die if you don't get a puppy for your birthday.
That's true, though.
I'm sorry. Of course it is.
That's a cute little... Let's see. Happy birthday, Uncle Fred. Mom says you are 4 times as big as me now. Me, 10 years. You, 40 years. So, I had always thought that, because I hadn't really explored this before, I had always thought that their life cycle was just very fast. But if she's 10 years old, that means that time is moving differently in some way. Let's see. The substance that seems to have triggered the quickening of the eggs is a bluish crystal with a fluorescent effect. I have seen fluorescent minerals before, but none that shines as bright as this. Moreover, to my knowledge, those minerals need to be exposed to ultraviolet light to emit some visible light, which makes the crystal's luminescence a mystery. I vaguely remember something about electromagnetic radiation having a similar effect, but that seems impossible in this cave. Why these crystals had an effect on the eggs remains a mystery as well. I made some experiments on one of the crystals I found, and it seems like they contain some sort of chemical energy that could be harnessed as electricity. I have yet to collect materials for a proper electrical circuit, but my initial experiments look promising. Alright, so we know that he built the pad before he got here, because he said, where does it all go? He kept asking, where does the garbage go? But it's starting to seem like he came here and continued inventing and possibly went back, because the adventure suit is powered by these crystals. So it's kind of, the mystery is deepening. 5 days after arrival, me and the frog people have found a place to build a village. There seems to be plenty of fish, and the people are using my old trash to build makeshift shacks. I can't wait to start my research on their race. This is the discovery of the century. So, this one was 27 days after arrival. That one's 5 days after arrival. And this one is 42 days after arrival. I have examined the creatures in almost every way I can. I documented their habits, their appearances, and their behaviors. I am getting close to a complete report, and I wish I could somehow share this with my scientist colleagues at home. Now that I think about it, maybe I could build a new pad that would take me home again. It sounds like we may be stuck here, unless Fred has figured out a way to get home. So, this is a neat little part of the game that I don't think I had found before. So let's see how we find our way. Ah! Just drop down. Alright, let's get on with the game. Let's continue on. And then I think probably we'll watch... It's getting to the time when I want to wrap this up. So I'm going to look for a nice stopping place where we can leave off and then pick up in the next episode. But probably I will want to get to the Elder before we do that. So that's going to require remembering where I'm going. And that's going to probably involve some jumping. Let's see. I see a path down there. Ah, yes. Down here. And this will take us to the windmill. And then she said you can see his grotto from here. So, I'm guessing it's through here. I think it's that glowing thing over there. But I always have trouble finding it. And I want to explore around. I want to make sure I look at things because this is such a nicely designed area. Rather a lot of whistling going on. So is this Fred? Is this a painting of Fred? That would be... I think that's the only human these people would have seen. And that painting does look rather human, but It could be a painting of somebody else that Fred brought with him, or that got fired off in the garbage, with the garbage, and I'm just not recognizing it. Let's see. There's a mark that says 4 down this way. I've been noticing these little markers seem to be indicating little side stories. This is a bolt lightning, a battery of some kind? And they're growing some vegetables. And yeah, it looks like we've got another... Is this Maddie's place? The 3 little pigs. And then something in a language that I don't know. And then Maddie. So yeah, this is Maddie's place.
Did Fred have any kids of his own?
Nope, not that I know of. He lived alone. He didn't really have any time for a family, I guess. He was always away or busy with his inventions. He could be gone for months at a time. I never knew how soon I would see him again.
Don't you think he felt lonely then?
I think he was too caught up in his projects to feel lonely. It seems like he found new friends in the village, though. Maddie seemed to be especially fond of him, taking after all that he did. Maybe Fred was like a father to her.
She didn't have a real father, right? If she was born from an egg.
That's right. That's another thing we had in common.
I like this. Hello, I am a fish. Me too. It's 2 fish talking to each other. And this one says, grapple hook Maddie. So, it sounds like Maddie has been using an adventure suit. So, it's been indicated that Fred does not know how to get home. So he hasn't been going back and forth, so he couldn't have made that suit for Maddie, could he? Unless, 42 days after his trip, he did build a pad to get home, and now he goes back and forth, and has been going back and forth. I'm not really sure how it all pieces together. I like that the story kind of comes out in little bits and pieces like this. And it gives the feeling like there is more to the world than it lets on. Now, where was the... Yeah, here's the platform where we want to head out from. And I'm going to do a power leap just to be sure that we make it. Now we have another one of these orbiting rocks. And where's this going to take us? I don't actually know where we're going to try and land. Ah! Okay. Looks like we have to grab a second spinning rock, so... going to have to time things a little bit more carefully, but it looks like they are rotating in sync, so as long as we watch out for this... There it is, and we got onto it just fine. There's always a bit of kind of desperate flailing whenever you miss something with the grapple hook, because it's often presenting kind of small targets, and so you can miss by a little bit and then it goes out of reach like that. I did not mean to demonstrate it there, but I did demonstrate it quite well. And I always end up kind of mashing the grapple button, trying to grab onto whatever it is that I'm trying to grab. So from here, I can't tell if we're trying to go down there or down to this thing. But this thing's so small that it's very difficult to land on it. So I'm thinking maybe we're supposed to land on something else first, because we certainly do not have enough grapple yet to make sure that we land on that thing. I'm going to wait for the next one to come around. I missed that one. And then we will head out I love the way you move in this game. I love the sense of just kind of flying around, and I love how difficult it is, even though it really makes it difficult to get through the game. It makes it quite slow. So I may end up leaving off here or doing an edit here because I do want to keep the series moving along a little bit. Because I love this game for everything that frustrates me about it and everything that disappoints me about it. I do love this game. And it's difficult for me to kind of separate out my desire to see the story and my desire to platform the platforming. Landed! Yes! Alright. That took quite a long time, and there's no checkpoint here. That is frightening. Okay. So now we are going down this way, I believe. Which, let's see, can we grapple onto that? No, so it's going to probably be a leap, a swing, and a grapple. There's the leap, there's the swing, and there's the grapple. And there's the checkpoint. And make sure that we hit that. Don't want to fly over it. And this definitely looks like more village, which is kind of impressive that the villagers have to make that jump every time they come over here.
A stranger in our halls. Welcome. Our name is Samuel, and we will do our best to assist you. Please tell us what brings you here.
I told him that I was looking for my Uncle Fred.
We should help. Do you know where he is?
Fred left us without a word. If you aspire to find him, we can share with you a sacred crystal, a power core. Fred used their kind to power his suit. You can have it if you return our Fred to us.
The crystal? Sweet!
Madeline, that was inappropriate. Your help will not be necessary. The crystal is not for you to have.
What? I want to help finding Fred. Why couldn't I?
Please, Madeline, that is impossible. None of us may enter the chasms. It is too dangerous.
What's the danger? If Fred can do it, so can I.
I say this for your own protection, Madeline. You are forbidden from entering the chasms.
Just because you're afraid of what's outside the village doesn't mean I am. I'm nothing like you. I'll never be.
We apologize. It is true that we want to keep her safe, but she does not understand. Behind us is the power core. Take it and go into the chasms. Find Fred, and if you see Madeline, take care of her. Be safe.
Now we're getting a little bit of a look into Madeline's tensions with the rest of her society. As she mentioned, she doesn't seem to get along with them entirely well. She seems to be more akin to Fred. More of the adventuring type. So, where are these chasms that we're trying to get to? Having a hard time telling where I'm going just from the darkness. So this is where we got the crystal. And then
I felt a little uneasy about moving on into the chasms. If it was too dangerous for Maddie, would it be safe enough for me?
alright, so it looks like we're coming back out this way and into the chasms over here. There we go. And one more. Now we have no way to control our descent, but that's okay, we made it. Alright, so we're heading into the chasms. We're looking for Fred, and we're learning a little bit more about life in the village, and about the kind of the tension between Maddie and the rest of her village, and especially between her and the Elder, and her affinity for Fred. So it looks like there is going to be more adventure ahead of us, more difficult platforming, and more story. So I hope that you will join me in the future, but most of all, thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.